War is the father of us all, said Heraclitus, an ancient Greek philosopher. It's without a doubt the origin of many humanity's most enduring legends, myths, and stories. Hundreds of war films have been created over the last century, each capturing war elements more or less effectively and with varying degrees of aesthetic brilliance. A list of 50+ fantastic war movies, titles that are both worthy of seeing and pretty nice, may be simply compiled. However, most individuals are unlikely to see dozens of such films, so we've compiled a list of the top 10 best war movies of all time. But before we begin our countdown, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell button. Number 10. Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan immediately immersed the audience in the Allied invasion of Europe's tensions and atrocities. Tom Hanks stars as an army captain, leading a small team charged with locating and returning a soldier who has lost all 3 of his brothers in the battle. While the action sequences in the film are exciting, the plot and central question are perhaps more so. Why risk the lives of numerous men to save one? The final moment will make you cry like a baby, and you will have a deeper appreciation for the courageous warriors who gave their lives for our liberties. Number 9. The Great Escape. The Great Escape is based on true events and follows a group of American and British POWs as they attempt to get out of impenetrable Nazi prison. While this film may appear to contradict the criteria that entries on this list focus on the battlefield experience, prisoners of war consider their camps to be extensions of the front lines. They were expected to do everything they could to escape, if not make it home, then at the very least to harry the enemy, diverting and depleting his resources. Yes, there is action like Steve McQueen riding his motorbike over a fence, but it's the themes of battling oppression, brilliantly improvising when the chips are down, and establishing a deep commitment to friendship that make this film so appealing and rewatchable. Number 8. Das Boot. As an American, you are taught that nothing could be more nasty or craven than a German U-boat. For screaming out loud, they torpedoed civilian cruise liners and commerce ships. However, after seeing the German film Das Boot, you get a sense of empathy and respect for these ships and the complex and horrific experience of those who served on them. The film follows a World War II U-boat crew on a mission that's essentially a suicide mission. You get a taste of what it's like to be squeezed inside a little metal tube hundreds of feet deep, as depth charges upset your nerves. It's terrifying and claustrophobic. What makes Das Boot so interesting is the commander of the submarine's model of leadership. His primary purpose is to ensure that his soldiers get home safely, while being cynical about the war and openly anti-Nazi. No matter how bad things become aboard the ship, the skipper stays cool, calm, and collected. Number 7. Glory. Considering how much ink has been spilled about the Civil War, there have been surprisingly few films created about it. There have been many events that occurred during the conflict, but there hasn't been much about the soldiers' experience on the battle. The greatest of those that do exist is Glory from 1989. The 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment was one of the earliest African-American volunteer regiments in the Union Army. The squad works to overcome discrimination and show themselves to their own Union colleagues as well as the opposing Confederates, despite a Southern decree that any black soldier caught fighting for the Federal would be hung and any white commander directing those men would also be executed. The regiment, led by Col. Robert Goldshaw, makes a heroic but futile attempt to conquer F.T. Wagner, losing half of their men in the process but earning respect and praise for their bravery. Number 6. Apocalypse Now. The majority of well-known Vietnam films were created in the 1970s and 1980s, when the directors and the rest of their age were still trying to figure out what the war in Vietnam meant to them personally and to the country. Surprising, given that Apocalypse Now is a weird and strange film. It isn't based on any real-life wars. Instead, Coppola put Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad's 1899 classic in Vietnam. It's a massive manifesto against war's futility and absurdity. The film depicts a U.S. Army captain, Benjamin Willard, who is tasked with assassinating a renegade American colonel called Walter Kurtz, who has established his own cult in the Vietnamese woods and believes he is God. He encounters a surfer-loving, Wagner-listening air cavalry lieutenant colonel along the way, as well as a tripped-up American photojournalist turned Kurtz disciple. Sure, it's a strange film, but it's also engaging and pleasant. Number 5. The Thin Red Line. The Thin Red Line is a dramatized version of the Battle of Mount Austin in Guadalcanal based on James Jones' novel. While there are several World War II films depicting land battles in Europe, There are significantly less films about fighting in the Pacific. The thin red line depicts the cruelty and challenges of the island warfare in graphic detail. It's massive in scope. The main characters are attempting to find out what the war means to them in between action sequences. For some, it's pointless and worthless. For others, it's an opportunity to display courage and honor. The film doesn't have you with a clear lesson about war, other than it's a messy, extremely human business. Number 4. Patton. General George S. Patton was a colorful character with a life that was already epic in scale. Naturally, Francis Ford Coppola's epic biography, Patton, transferred brilliantly to the movie. Epic is an understatement. Everything in this image is massive. At the start of the movie, there's a huge American flag. The battlegrounds, even the palaces commanded by the Patton for command positions. It was clearly a film meant to be waved on a huge screen rather than on a smartphone. George C. Scott gives a fantastic performance as the larger-than-life Patton. In one of the film performances in film history, he steals the show. Number 3. 1917. The film follows two British troops who are tasked with accomplishing a dangerous mission, sending a message to call off an aggression operation that's hopeless. 1917 does an excellent job of capturing the carnage and environmental devastation of the World War I trench warfare, while also demonstrating that even the most horrific landscapes can contain stirring beauty. The film's biggest strength is Sam Mendes' decision to shoot it in long takes, giving it impression that it was shot in only 2 continuous shots. What should have come off as a cheap gimmick works brilliantly, immersing you in the action and making you feel as if you're really there in the trenches being shelled and fired at. Number 2. Longest Day. The Longest Day is a documentary-style portrayal of the Allied invasion of Normandy during World War II. It takes you from the days leading up to the invasion to almost every aspect of the actual operation. You'll watch Eisenhower debating whether or not to approve the mission, British soldiers flying into France in wooden gliders, and American troops storming Normandy's beaches. It's a great film that does an excellent job of conveying a genuinely monumental time in human history. It also stars John Wayne, Henry Fonda, Robert Mitchum, and Robert Wagner, among the other silver screen legends. Number 1. The Bridge on the River Kwai. During World War II, the Japanese instruct a group of the British POWs to construct a bridge for the Sime-Burma Railway. Instead of undermining the bridge as POWs are intended to do, the men led by Colonel Nicholson construct the finest damn bridge they can, one that will survive forever. The bridge becomes a matter for war's futility and insanity, egoistical pride, a need to save, obstinate, tight adherence to class, military orders, and laws. This might very well be the finest war film ever filmed, with a unique and captivating tale, and of course, one of the cinema's most iconic theme music. Of course, such lists are often the topic of heated controversy, but if you don't agree with ours, you may offer your own in the comment section below. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell button for more interesting and entertaining videos. We'll see you in another video shortly. Thanks for watching.